Wolfpack, what is going on? It's your boy, the Wolf of Roto Street, rotostreetjournal.com. We breed and feed fantasy wolves here with your Week 2 rankings update. Week 1's in the books, whether you're 1-0, 0-1, whether you kicked ass or whether you got your ass beat. It is time to move on and get yourself ready for Week 2. So as is tradition, I'll be doing my rankings live. Would love for some comments, interaction, and if you're live, any shares, if you're in any Facebook groups or anything like that, Reddit groups you want to drop this in, awesome. But get your questions in. Happy to answer anything about the waiver wire, anything about your lineups for Week 2, because we have to get it right, folks. So let's dig in, let's dive in, and get those questions flowing. Bring it into the stream here. This is obviously the matchup grid. As you remember, we'll alternate between the rankings, and then we'll also go back and forth into the points allowed so you can get a sense of who has great matchups here in Week 2 and why I'm ranking them as we do. So this is the terms of points allowed. The Falcons have allowed the most points, Vikings second, Jets third, Browns fourth, and as you guys can see, just like the green zone matchups here is what's feeding this matchup calendar. So when we go over here, we want to pick apart those matchups against, anything against the Vikings. We saw Aaron Rodgers go crazy. Falcons, Russ cooked. Jets, Josh Allen bombed them. So keep those all in mind as we go here through our rankings. And at the top, Lamar Jackson, how do you not have this guy there? He has just been an absolute animal. Ever since last year, looked only better, slinging that ball all over the yard. He's just going to continue to do it, and Houston presents no challenge at all. The only risk is they get up too big and then just take the air out of the ball. Mahomes against the Chargers, I like, but I think they're going to dominate them. So I'm going to get him, a few people up, and one of them's got to be Aaron Rodgers. Fresh off one, scoring the second most points of the week. That's obviously incredible, but he's facing a Detroit secondary that's going to be without its three top corners. Now, I've never liked Aaron Rodgers, and I'm one to openly say I don't have him high in my rankings to start the year, and I'm also one to eat crow and say, fuck, I was wrong. He was a beast. He was masterful. I think he's got to be even up in your top 2, 3. He's got to be up there. I guess Dak, the most points allowed, I think he might be number 2. This could be the real Dak coming out party after a mediocre game there against the Rams. Russell Wilson, though, man, they're going to let that guy cook. He is facing one of the better secondaries. Don't be shocked if they suddenly just take the air out of the ball and get into a gross little slugfest. I think Kyler Murray against Washington, I get how ferocious that D-line was, but he's going to run all over the place. He's more mobile than Wentz. So I think that just ends up racking up rushing yards. And their secondary is god-awful. So give me Kyler Murray all day. I'd say this is kind of my top tier. Russ being, the round out there. Love Josh Allen. He decimates bad defenses, and certainly Miami qualifies. So he'll be up there. I don't like Deshaun Watson. He was the 10th, 15th best quarterback last week, and now he gets a far harder matchup against the Ravens. So not going to be in personally this week on him in terms of DFS. Probably starting him season long. The Drew Brees obsession. Why is Drew Brees? This is so, again, starts with the expert consensus, and then I kind of go from there. With Michael Thomas banged up and a pop gun attack that averages 4 yards a fucking attempt. It was a joke. No interest in any bit of Drew Brees here. Looking through in terms of the matchups, Tannehill, no respect for the guy. Don't forget last year he had 2 rushing touchdowns and 2 passing touchdowns against the Jags. Definitely would rather have him than Drew Brees. Jimmy G, normally I'd have him hugely up higher given the Jets matchup, but I don't feel great about him with that just decimated weapons cabinet. George Kittle out. I can't feel great there. Get your quarterback questions in. I'm seeing some, running back OBJ questions there. Totally will get to those 38 Tony and everybody else. Keep them coming. All about it. But want to get through these quarterbacks first. I think Denver, tough matchup for Big Ben, but he looked all the way back, so he's got to stay top 12. I think Brady will just bombs away on that secondary. Whereas Ryan, not a tough matchup, so you got to like him. And I think they go down big again. So you know what, Matt Ryan, I think that's just going to be the formula for these guys all year is down big. and shootout style games. So just on that cusp, I'll put him, Josh Allen down. I guess I'm a little lower than consensus on Josh Allen. But I'm not a huge believer if they want to just pound that rock in when they get in close. You never know. But he looked good. He looked real fucking comfortable this week. Let's keep going, though, down here. I mean, Green Bay, I think Stafford has a nice coming out party. Let me get him back up here. Obviously, it would help to have Kenny G back, the number one receiver there. But even if not, the Packers gave up, the 8th most points? Yeah, we see it here. So the 8th most points. Lions being right after them. And again, their secondary completely banged up. So I think it's going to be even worse. So that looks like shootout on paper in my opinion. So let's get Stafford bumped up a little bit all the way to 10. Definitely a must play in my opinion this week. Would have him in over Watson, for example, if you were doing that as a dilemma. I thought Minshew looked fabulous. I mean, Wentz, very sketch if Lane Johnson ain't back. And even when he comes back, that interior looked brutal. And we know the Rams D-line is going to make just murderers work out of that pathetic Eagles line. It's the first time Wentz has really had to face pressure like this, and he did not respond quite well at all. Other than that, Burrow should get a bump up. I think Goff looked, pretty decent. Now, I don't know what to make of Breeze, right? Like, that just offense was so conservative, and now his number one guy is about to be out. So I don't know how I feel about Breeze. I just want to get Wentz down here. And again, Garoppolo, though, the matchup should be easy. Put up 19 despite being horrendous last week. So, that suggests a pretty solid, sturdy floor that you can feel okay about. Again, keep those comments coming in, guys. I promise I'll get to them in between each position. I don't have Tyrod anywhere up here. Ooh, Rivers got to be my favorite stream of the week against Minnesota. We saw what Rodgers just did to them. He's out there on, only 27% owned. I would say he's got to be someone you're heavily considering if you have Breeze, Garoppolo, someone I would totally be looking to scoop right now. My boy Teddy Bridge is getting in this top 20. No doubt over Burrow. I mean, Breeze has got to be the most overrated on this list after what we saw. Such an abysmal, pathetic attack. Maybe they start opening it up, but I don't know. Not looking forward to more of that. Heber, you got to get rid of these guys, right? These nonsense. How is there 33 quarterbacks and Ryan Fitzpatrick is 33? There's got to be an extra one somewhere in here. Oh my God, what is it? Who knows? But regardless, let's keep going, folks. We got Dwayne Haskins towards the bottom. Makes sense, but I think this could be a shootout game. I don't think Danny Jones belongs this low down. He's got that sneaky Konami code upside, which I love to see. I think he belongs. I think he'll rebound decently. I like Danny Jones for a nice rebound this week. I would put Darnold definitely at the bottom. I think one of the more overrated guys. Pittsburgh Drew Lock, didn't do much against a banged up Tennessee D. So I'm not expecting a whole lot out of him. I think Mitch Trubisky, we said he could be a streamer last week. He ended up responding with, I think, the 4th or 5th most quarterback points of the contests. I think he could do it right again with a matchup against the Giants. Just a delicious, tasty matchup there. That secondary is just pathetic. I probably would not have him over Daniel Jones or Jimmy Garoppolo, though. But in this tier of potential starters, we'll get Watson just out of respect into these like QB1s, but it's very fringe, very low, in my opinion, for him. Maybe, we'll lump together. I'd say this tier looks kind of like this. And then we'll sneak in one more tier here. Right there, a Derek fucking Carr joke. And again, look at how deep quarterback is. I feel good about Goff, and he's my 24. Man, would I really play Trubisky over Goff and Wentz? Probably not. Keep those sit stars coming in. Let's get to a few here. That wraps up my first look at the receivers. This week, you have to play one. I have to decide on this myself. Gibson or Akers, which one would it be? I think I'd go back to Akers. He saw the volume, right? And Gibson long-term is the guy I'm more interested in and hanging on to. but Barber is going to keep getting that gross plotting volume for a few weeks. So I'm a little bit lower on Gibson short term, even though I'm higher on him long term than Akers. I think that's the same question we got here. What do you think of the OBJ trade buzz? Is Jarvis prime for a jump? If OBJ went EKPU, then yeah, of course, Jarvis would get a nice target share bump. So, I mean, we got to keep monitoring it. What if Allen Robinson, though? That's like a swap there. All these malcontent rumors. Let's get one of those guys in New England, huh? With Cam Newton looking so good. I would love it. Should I trade Michael Thomas? I love this. And should I start Cam or Stafford? Please help this week. So let's get to both of those for you, Dr. Pfeffer. I say, if you can get something decent for Michael Thomas and you lost and you're desperate, you never want to say, sell Michael Thomas. Let's be real here. But if that high ankle sprain lingers, think about what happened with Saquon all last year. That value just completely sapped. So there is a world where if you can get good value for Mike Thomas now and you need to win, I could see you selling him. I posed this question last night, Adam Thielen or Michael Thomas, if you're in win now mode. I think I'm leaning Adam Thielen right now. You hate to see how conservative that attack was, how minimally he was involved, and just the injury. All those factors make me a little bit down on Michael Thomas moving forward. And in terms of should you start Stafford or Newton, that's tricky. I mean, Newton getting those 15 rush attempts was as sexy as can be for fantasy, for Patriots owners. But you see, I have Stafford here at QB9, significantly above the ECR, because I think that Green Bay game shoots out. Obviously feel better, even if Galladay comes back, would make me feel even better. Carr up, I mean, not really. Why? This is the Josh Jacobs show. Not really into him. Dan, you don't read the chat? I'm one of the only viewers. Of course I read the chat. That's where it's popping up, my man. Get the questions coming, baby. Share it out. Get some more viewers in here. Picked up Crowder. This is on both YouTube, Periscope, and Facebook for those viewers that might be confused. Picked up Crowder on the waiver wire. Do you like him over John Brown for my wide receiver too? Justin, great question. That one comes down to matchups. And the Jets get the 49ers, which I do not love on paper, whereas the Browns, the Buffalo Bills get Miami off the top of my head, and I definitely like attacking that matchup. So give me John Brown for sure. Let's keep going here. I lost Devante Parker over Crowder and lost. Ooh, not good. Should I switch them this week? Buffalo's secondary, not. That's tricky. Let's see how healthy Devante Parker is before we go back to that. Well, Crowder looked so great after the catch that I'd have a hard time sneaking away from him. McCaffrey, it's so hard to ever move him away from number one. And my God, I own him in 2 out of my 3 biggest leagues. It's just an absolute joy. But Tampa Bay is extremely, extremely stingy against running backs. So if there is a week for him to get bumped down a little bit, this would be one of them. I think Dalvin Cook at Indy gets a little bump. Jacksonville, it's an annual tradition for Derrick Henry just to absolutely steamroll. Let's quickly take a look at your running back points allowed. Let's filter it by most. So Cardinals allowed the most. That was also because the 49ers relentlessly peppered their running backs, but Cardinals keep that in mind. Panthers allowed the second most. We saw what Josh Jacobs did to that poor team. Good Lord. You got Jaguars picking up where they left off as a complete dumpster heap. Good to see. So that's going to be just a steamroll fest for Henry. Packers allowing a good amount. Cowboys, Rams, Falcons, Vegas Raiders, and Vikings, the most generous teams as of right now to the running back. Whereas you go down here for the least generous, you see the Saints, Colts, Steelers, Chargers, Washington football team, after being one of the most generous of last year, is coming in so far as the least allowed. But look who they were facing, Boston fucking Scott, against an awful line. So those are just the matchups of the week. Let's now dig in to who's going to exploit the good ones. So Zeke at Atlanta, again, the 5th most points or whatever, 7th or so right there. That's my number 1 play. That guy is a monster. I would even have Derrick Henry up at 2. He's just going to steamroll the Jaguars. From there, I like Alvin Kamara to do what McCaffrey did to the Raiders, is score 2 touchdowns. Kamara doing that to, last week himself. So am I really going to have McCaffrey, though, not in the top 3? That's impossible to do. So give me McCaffrey at 2. He's just so matchup proof. It doesn't really matter. That's where I'm holding him. From there, I have Hilaire right up underneath here, because you imagine he's going to start catching that ball, seeing the goal line work. So big fan of him for a rebound game. Jacobs against New Orleans, despite them being stingy, you got to feel so good about him. That line did not make nearly the steps we were hoping for Saquon Barkley. So that's a concern, no doubt about it. I really like Aaron Jones to kind of whip out one of his 3 touchdown days. If, they're going to put up points, and I'm high on Rodgers as well, obviously. But I wouldn't be shocked if Rodgers only does 2, because it's Aaron Jones pounding in 3 or 4. He was the primary goal line back here, which is big because A.J. Dillon just didn't even touch the field. Excuse me, guys. Need that water. So I think Aaron Jones could definitely be in for a nice multi-TD day. Mixon, it's now or never time, right? So I'll cut this tier off here, and of course you get some of your first round guys that you got to start questioning. What are we doing here? Move. Sorry about that, folks. This fucking piece of shit. I don't know what's happening. I'm sorry for the tech difficulties. There we go. We'll just fucking do it that way. Here we go. Jonathan Taylor does need to get elevated right into this tier. This tier thing is fucking... All right, I'm going to try that again. Screaming from the mountaintops as this person saying, Jonathan Taylor, top 8 RB1. No doubt in my mind about it. Who do you rank him above? So we're looking here, right? Being 24 forever. Who do you put him in above on this list, though? Top 8, right? Definitely top 10 in my opinion, but tricky to lump him up over there. But yeah, I think this is going to be the week he comes out and just rips off 3 huge rushing TDs. The involvement in the receiving game was as gorgeous as you could ever hope for. I think Drake, tough matchup, but still a great bet weekly for the end zone. I think Chubb gets it back together and has himself a nice steamrolling day, a better effort for the Browns overall, a more positive game script should help him out. Continuing down here, Mr. Must Start against the Jets. I think I got to have him above there. Let's see here. What else do we got? Carson against New England. They're not the toughest run defense. Certainly one of the better pass Ds. But I think the Cowboys gave up some decent running back points on Sunday Night Football to Malcolm Brown. And I could see Gurley also getting his ass into the end zone a couple times. So I probably have him in over these guys. I'm going to give Eckler, similar to Mixon, I'm not going to go too far low on him. I'll give them another tryout week and see what they can do. This is more a reflection mustard up here. Must start, rather. That's more a belief in him than it is a fault on these other guys. Ingram, though, how could you have him up there? 3-headed committee, played the less snaps than Dobbins. Dobbins had 40% to his, I think, 35%. And then you had Gus Edwards in there 26% of the time. And Ingram was losing the goal line work. Is that going to suddenly flip? Oh, you got to have Ronald Jones, though, baby. This is Ronald Jones week facing Carolina. Whoever thought I'd say that, but 17 touches to 5 or 6 for Fournette. So it was clear to me Ronald Jones was the guy. Dare I say I'd rather play Ronald Jones than Austin Eckler in this week. My DraftKings lineup is definitely going to have Ronald Jones, Jonathan Taylor in my backfield, and then pepper expensive wide receivers from there. David Johnson, tough matchup versus Baltimore, but he looked spry. He looked good. keep going down the list. I like Gordon, even though it's Pittsburgh, because you're going to have Lindsey out for a bit. Give me Dobbins, though, touchdown guy. As I said, far above Mark Ingram. Kareem Hunt out-touching, out-gaining, out-snapping. Not out-snapping, rather. But everything else. Out-fantasy pointing. Great verb there. Everything, Nick Chubb. Out-producing. Probably would have been the cleaner way of saying that. Kareem Hunt has to be towards the top here. We'll continue on. I see your questions coming, guys. Don't worry. I will be getting there. Connor, not necessarily expected to play. I'm going to rank it as if they said they haven't turned the light off on Connor playing, but let's just assume he's not for now and think about what would we do with Benny Snell. Benny Snell would have to be top 24 against a very, very bad it's Denver, so not a horrible defense, but still, he looked good. He looked spry. Those reports of his weight loss definitely were not exaggerated. He looked slimmer and definitely was zipping all over the place through those holes. Not a fan of Singletary. I'd rather have Moss, the guy getting the goal line work, just like Dobbins and Ingram. Like Singletary's just another version of this Ingram, I think Montgomery's disgusting, right? But the Giants, that's going to give you some goal line opportunities, and the volume was there. So we're looking at these like kind of sketch RB2s, but like acceptable RB2s. I think you got to keep riding this train with Malcolm Brown and Nyheim Hines. He deserves top 25 at minimum consideration every single week. The upside's enormous. The lead receiving role plus Mac now, so there's no other change of pace. Like him, he's going to be a 1B to Jonathan Taylor's 1A, and that's no disrespect to Mr. Taylor. I think Mr. Taylor is the biggest monster to come out of the college game in quite some time. He's going to feast this week. But Nyheim Hines can also do some damage, especially if the Vikings make this game competitive, make them put the air under that ball. So I love using Nyheim Hines and Malcolm Brown if you get them off waivers this week. I think they are both totally usable. Whereas I'd rather have both of them in than Mark Ingram, Devin Singletary. Can't trust Antonio Gibson quite yet until we see him fully separate, even though Arizona gave up a ton of receiving work to running backs that should favor Gibson. I guess I'd rather have him in there over Ingram and Singletary, although you wouldn't be shocked to see Ingram just fall into the end zone 3 times this week. I don't think any of us would be stunned to see that. But Josh Kelly, the goal line guy, I have both him and Gibson in a league, and I think I'd put in Kelly before I put in Gibson. So I guess that expresses my true feelings on the matter. James Robinson getting all that work, all the backfield touches outside of 2 for Chenault and a catch for Chris Thompson. So you got to feel good about Jamie Robinson. I apologize because I am a little tired today. The game's going to 1:30 and then school at 6 a.m. So stick with me. Doing my best here. Send the Wolf a little love. Could use a coffee as well if you're around the corner here. I think Cohen over, what's Singletary? What's Singletary doing for you? Nothing. I guess the Miami matchup, but it's going to be Zach Moss getting those looks. We get here, Fournette could fall his way into the end zone against that awful Carolina team, but I can't have him ranked up with these these last usable guys. I guess as a desperation flex, we can toss these guys here, and that's kind of where I cut the line. I'll bump Akers up. I don't really want to use him. I guess I said I would just use Akers over Gibson, but push is coming to shove, and I'd rather see Gibson in my lineup. I could see him separating faster. And then now we're in the range where, can you start any of these guys? Peyton Barber, as much as I hate to do it, I think you got to bump up. I think Adrian Peterson, is the early down back there. I'd rather have him than Fournette. So get me AP bumped up a little bit. Trying to think, McKinnon against the Jets could definitely find the end zone again. So we're just scanning down here for potential usable guys because Kerryon Johnson sure as hell ain't. Definitely, Philip Lindsay's not going to play, so let's get rid of him. Boston Scott and Miles Sanders. So I think we got to think Sanders is playing, in which case, not the easiest of matchups. Oh, thank you. Coffee on demand. Not the easiest of matchups, but and the hammy has to be a worry for you starting out the year, any type of flare-ups like that. But if he's playing, you got to have him in there. That line does suck too, though. So Sanders looking like he could be one of the earlier busts of the season. We'll see how this all plays out. Where else? Where else do we look here? He didn't end up even moving. I would have him right around here, should he play. Now keep going to this. There's nothing else I'm looking down here and seeing as a potential stream. The deeper we get, the worse it's looking. I guess, with Le'Veon Bell out, something could come out of that. I think Josh Adams was the first man up there. So, yay. I wouldn't have him over like Barber or Williams, though. So let's bump him down. All righty, that's what we got for running backs. Let's see what we got. Thoughts on Kenyon Drake? I have no worries about Kenyon Drake right now, Sam Robinson. Washington, a tougher front. Chase Young, the immediate impact was felt. But you just need touchdowns. And I think that Arizona offense looked so good against one of the better defenses in the league that you're going to consistently get some nice touchdown upside out of Kenyon Drake. And we didn't even see any receiving volume yet. So I'd like to see that to get a nice little uptick. And I think we can to neutralize that pass rush. Left Matthew. Cool. What's up, everyone? It's week 2. It's on. Yes, baby. Yes, it is. Love it. What else do we have here? Mike Clay saying only have 5 bench spots. Have Gibson, Dobbins, Deshaun, Madison, and James Robinson. Wanted to pick up Malcolm Brown and also Goddard because I have Kittle. What do you think about Kittle, and which 1 or 2 would you drop? Great question, Mike. A lot to process there. Love that you have Hines. If you have Kittle and you got to get a backup here because he could miss some time, and you can't feel good about it, obviously. I think you got to prioritize Goddard. That's who I'm looking to prioritize this week. And who do you drop out of all these guys, though, is the question. And it's tricky to say drop James Robinson, right? Because he just saw all the work and you got a back seeing volume. But with your other running backs ahead of them, I know you, Mike, and I'm guessing you have some sweet-ass bell cows. I think I drop James Robinson because when is he going to touch your lineup, right? Madison obviously carries that top 3 ceiling if anything happens, so it's tricky to get rid of that. So unless you're using Robinson, I think he's the most cuttable. Or if Deshaun's never going to touch your lineup, he could be the other option there. Fuller over OBJ, right? Yeah, probably this week and for most weeks. Let's segue over to wide receivers and get there. I'm putting him ahead of Josh Jacobs and Aaron Jones rest of season, says Bean to be forever. We're talking about Jonathan Taylor. Whew, that is a spicy take. I think I'd have him over Aaron Jones too, but not over Josh Jacobs after we saw him get career high in targets with 6, career high 17 routes run. I like it all. Should I trade Nick Chubb for Drew Brees and T.Y. Hilton? No. That's called selling low to the max. Nick Chubb will bounce back, and I think this is a good week to watch him bounce back facing the Bengals. And what are you getting out of Brees and Hilton? Ugh. Like both of them suck too. So you're selling the underperforming stud for the underperforming mediocre guys? Nah, don't do that, Glez. Kenyon Drake, good question. How can I help you, Sam Robinson? Be a little more specific here. Do you think Saquon's rushing will bounce back, or would you shop him before his stock falls too far? I don't think his stock will ever fall too dramatically, EK Pure. But I mean, it's worth entertaining if his stock's still elite in the mindset of your league mates, because he's going to, though, have, and on the flip side, has a few more tough matchups in a row. I think it's about 4. So it's tricky in that, man, Like I'd be trying to buy low in a couple weeks. I wouldn't be buying him yet because I think people still think it's Saquon. I think he's gonna have a couple rougher weeks, and then he'll get back to doing his thing once that schedule lightens up. But it's not till about week 5 he sees a nice, clean, easy matchup. What is your current QB at JXN Glez? Not sure. It says Josh Allen. Sweet. We got a little conversation going there. Would you bench Mixon for Rojo? Have Drake and JT also? That's a tough one. And you get Mixon on Thursday night against the Browns team. Let's kind of double check how much they allowed to running back. They obviously allowed those 2 touchdowns to J.K. Dobbins. So right in the middle of the pack because no other running back really did a ton there. But I don't think I bench Rojo in that good spot, but just when you go to trust him, you know Fournette comes in. There's still a little risk. I would ride my guy Mixon at least one more time. Snell top 24. Yep. Yeah. Assuming that's of course assuming Connor's out. Josh Allen, Crowder or Malcolm Brown for flex 2. I think I'm going Brown. I'm riding that touchdown train, baby. Get that gravy. James Robinson. Time to get Hilton and someone else, trying to get T.Y. Hilton and someone else on the team. I mean, I like buying low on Hilton, but I'm not like sprinting out to get him. I'm certainly not giving up a guy that was widely considered top 20 overall, top 10 back that still could, have a good shot at leading the league in rushing just despite one bad game against a really good defense. That would be too low, Miles. Don't do it. Just traded David Montgomery for Jared Cook. My other RBs are Zeke, Aaron Jones, and JT. I won that trade right. Yeah, because I think Montgomery is just a complete bag of dirt. So you could have sold him for a fucking mulch pile, and I would have said you won. No, I also like Jared Cook too, especially if this injury lingers. They're going to have targets to go in terms of Mike Thomas there. Chase Edmonds, I don't know what that question is. Asking you shall receive coffee time. Yeah, seriously. Grade A service, absolutely. I could get JT and Jairus Landry for him. I don't think Landry's good enough, but if you can get JT and something juicier, I would potentially do it. I would definitely potentially do that. So I agree with you. Not a great offer. Is Tyler Boyd droppable for Watkins? You must be in one of the more shallow league, Daniel, to have Watkins on the waiver wire. It's interesting because AJ Green did look like he was ready to be that alpha again. It's one game. I don't want to overreact, and Burrow seemed to finally hit his stride late in the 4th. So if that carries over against a bad Cleveland D, you don't want to jump ship too soon on Boyd in a potential offense that could soar. But I don't know. I don't think I drop him. Boyd's been such a sturdy stud. In Watkins, we've seen the week 1 mirages way too often. So I'll have Boyd just a little bit higher on my rest of season big board. And for all these questions like that, like drop blank for blank, check out rotostreetjournal.com for our rest of season big board. All of that's been updated for 2020 for the first time. And it's always fun to see that first board and how everything shakes out. Alrighty, folks, you got to have Devante Adams at the top. Not really a question there. Why is this not moving? I think where's DeAndre Hopkins? He's got to be right here in your top 3. Washington secondary is nothing special, and with Wentz being a little more escapable, less escapable rather, and you got Kyler Murray getting away from the pressure, I could see Hopkins just yet again another 12, 13 catch day. Of course, Julio Jones will eat. There's no doubt about that. Minnesota Vikings, 57.4. 2 receivers. Seahawks, but that's more so just garbage time, which could happen often, but not against the Patriots this week. Giants, a lot of points to wide receivers, as you can see. The Lions, Packers, Indianapolis Colts, Jets, Falcons, Raiders, some of the more generous teams out there. And a guy that I will be looking at for that Vikings matchup being 82 forever is Paris Campbell. Absolutely love him. Look at him shipping the captain. He is the captain now. Absolutely. I like that call. I like the usage of emojis. Thank you for that. Let's keep going here. I will make sure to keep him in mind. I'm a little bit down on Mike Thomas based on his injury. I want to see him play before I would put him in over a Calvin Ridley, who should be over Chris Godwin. Allen Robinson in a position to dominate this week. Squeaky wheel could get the Pelissero just reported Mike Thomas to miss a few weeks with the ankle sprain. So that's a big news. So we can X out of him. Holy shit. Thanks, Mike. Good to have ESPN insider Mike Clay with us on the ranking show here. Appreciate it, buddy. But we can take him out of the rankings. I am worried about DJ Moore too. The way they spread that ball, definitely worrisome. I'm not going to Hines. Go for Chase or Snell or Josh Kelly just for the bench. Why not Hines? I say Hines is the number one out of all those guys. But if not, if it's just for the bench, I'd say I'd probably lean Chase because his upside's the highest if something happens. Snell, the highest likelihood of coming into value, though, too, to keep in mind. I thought Juju looked monstrous. And Corey Davis made that secondary bend over. Adam Thielen, though, he's going to be unstoppable most weeks. So he goes up. Keep going here. Amari Cooper just got 14 targets against Jalen Ramsey. What do you think he's going to do against a Falcons team that just got bombarded by Russell Wilson? So he's one of my favorite plays of the week, certainly above his ECR. I'd say I'd have Juju above Godwin. Brady just did not look great there. So let's bump this down. Michael Thomas news, the injury's worse than they thought and will miss several weeks. Oh, man. Few weeks, several weeks. Would you pick up Sanders or other Saints receivers? Man, I think Sanders is definitely the play. And if he's gone, then Traquan Smith, he's going to become a whole lot more interesting for these next couple of weeks, getting all talked up over camp. So he could be a guy to look for. But yeah, this is huge news, folks. Michael Thomas being done for the next several weeks is going to have a huge trickle-down effect. Jared Cook gets some nice bump up, and Alvin Kamara, man, his target share just got that much higher. Damn, this is some crazy news. So Sanders has to get a bump up. So let me search for him. And a good matchup versus the Raiders, like the clear number one for Breeze now, even though Breeze is nothing that special. What we saw. Trade Deshaun and Smokey Brown for Woods, free up one of the 5 bench spots. Yeah, especially because of the value you're looking to pick up, right? You're talking about Woods and the bench player for those 2 guys. I say go for it, especially because you're considering cutting Deshaun anyways. I definitely do that. What's up, Jeremiah? Good to see you. And again, for those just tuning in, Michael Thomas out several weeks. Rough breaking news here on the podcast. All righty. I think A.J. Brown's going to come back with a big bounce back. McLaurin, even though the Cardinals locked down receivers last week, that was because they don't have anyone to throw to, the 49ers. Yeah, you can say I'm a little down on DJ Moore, huh? But it's true. I think Evans, he played the whole game, so if he's unhealthy, it didn't totally show. I think Lockett above, but that matchup's tough, so I don't know how high I can bump him up. I think OBJ. Let's give this guy a shot here this week. And if he fails this week against Cincy, then you better get your bags ready. I do think Lockett will have a very, very nice rebound. In fact, I'd have him above OBJ. I'll cut this off here. Let's move this tier. I've noticed I gotta wait for it to save before I can move things around. So Hilton leading off this tier. Metcalf, it's tricky. How much do you factor in this defense for New England? And they are good, but is Rush just that much better? Why is Marquis Brown at 27? Guys, couldn't have looked more impressive. I'd rather have him in. Here we go. Come on. Fucking, this thing is so fucking frustrating and slow. Uh, I'd rather have Marquis Brown than DJ Moore, even DJ Chark, even. DJ Chark might be where I draw the line, given that secondary is completely torched. But yeah, top 15. So clearly way ahead on Marquis Brown, for sure. I mean, look at what Watkins just did to them. You tell me Marquis Brown can't go 150 in a TD? Sheesh. I think Marvin Jones is in a good rebound spot. I think Gallup, given the matchups, I'm not into Keenan Allen in this offense right now, folks. And it's pretty easy to see why. I don't know what to make of these two guys, these great players with a great quarterback against a very, very good defense. Edelman, though, if they're playing comeback mode, I like him a lot. I think Fuller, despite the tough matchup here, has to get a little more respect. Let's wait for that to stop loading. There we go. Sutton. So yeah, this is a good call here from Jeremiah. Slayton is the number one in New York, 1,000%, and that was against a tough Pittsburgh secondary. So I think Slayton down here against Chicago needs a hefty raise. I'm glad you pointed that out. One of the bigger risers of the week for sure on the big board, rest of season big board. What's up with the Boyd Burrow connection? It just never happened. Will Boyd bounce back? Well, I mean, it's their first game ever to Jeremiah, right? So we don't want to go crazy and say it will never happen now because of 1 week, right? I think you got to wait and see it. You can't just drop Boyd. We got a couple questions about Boyd. You got to be a little more pessimistic. Yeah, that's acceptable. That's fine. I understand it. But AJ Green looked good. You just wonder, how long is he going to hold up for anyways? I would cut this tier off right about here, and I'd sneak Slayton in there above Keenan Allen. So higher on him. I thought Deontay Johnson looked absolutely fabulous. What to make of Cortland Sutton? Is he playing? Because it's clear they need him as an alpha. Maybe I was wrong about my Judy stance that he can just completely shoulder everything as a rookie. I like Campbell a lot this week. He might be my play of the week. I think he's under 5K on DraftKings too, so he's one I will be sprinting towards. I think CeeDee Lamb against Atlanta, has a solid day and then comes out and says, wasn't even close to my best. I need to be better. Those are the type of things you want to see. So I like these guys more than your Bengals. I can't have Sutton as high as he is right now without knowing more about his injury. Once we learn more, I can rake him more confidently. I think Deshaun Jackson might get the Jalen Ramsey treatment, which is never good for anybody. Robbie A, meanwhile, good-looking deep threat. I do have John Brown higher than that. Once this catches up, fucking slow-ass system. There we go. I'd say Johnny Brown can go into this tier. He can get it. That touchdown was nice. Like I said, I really wouldn't be surprised to see Brown outscore Diggs this entire season. Guy just offered me Emmanuel Sanders for Deshaun. I'd say, yeah, I would hit that. Sanders is going to be a beast for these next few weeks. As Jeremiah agrees, Mike Clay deal. So if you're listening to the Wolf and Jeremiah, you got yourself a deal, sir. Jairus Landry, the slot receivers do typically, despite Keenan Allen just being awful, it's more Tyrod than anything. I could see Landry coming out with a nice game here. Now keep going. I think Preston can get a nice bump up. I think Miller, especially should anything happen with Allen Robinson. But Miller needs to go up a bit. I'd say above Tyler Boyd to my top 40. And then we're going to move on to tight ends in a second. We got Crowder, 49ers matchup, but got it done in a tough matchup this week against Buffalo. I think he can do it again. So I don't want to be down on Crowder. He is just a target hog. And now you got Bell gone for even longer. So, yeah, I think I got to have – it's a little too high for Paris Campbell. Come on. Holy shit. This thing's going to drive me fucking insane sometimes. It's never been this slow before, folks. I apologize, but like the way it takes about 2 hours to fucking update is ridiculous in my opinion. So I'd rather that this is where I'll put Paris Campbell. All righty, keep going. Sorry for that pause. Sorry for that delay. Sean Jackson. Yeah, this is so like who gets bumps up here? Maybe Judy in a tough matchup. Don't love it. I think Watkins. Let's give him a chance. Let's see how real it is. Parker, you gotta, we'll see what the injury is, but I think we gotta trust in him to rebound. Chenault, I'd have him, dare I say, above Judy this week. I don't think that's ridiculous to say. He's more of a stash here. Until we see him surpass Robinson, it just can't happen. It just cannot happen that you have him as a starter. I traded Watkins for Kareem. I think that's a great sell high. I think we talked about that. Yeah, I think that's fantastic. He had a really high play count, but never got targeted. In terms of Edwards, yeah, it was good to see him on the field as much, but man, where's the usage? Why is it not coming? That's a problem. Keep going here. I'm going to just X out of Galladay as if he's not playing. I like me some Alan Lazard, the Lizard King. Trying to look down here and see, who do I like? I think Ayuk against the Jets with everybody else hurt. He could come in and make some nice splashes. So I'm into that. I'm into Rager. I still am. I'm not going to quit him yet by any means. Then anybody else down here? I'm not seeing any names that I love and need to dip into. I think Corey Davis was surprisingly good. I mean, anybody above Larry Fitz, right? Like there's nothing there of appeal. Even Christian Kirk, like 5 targets. I hate to ever wax any type of poetic about Corey Davis. You guys know, any longtime listeners are probably like, what the fuck? Did you just say a good thing about Corey Davis? He usually talks about wanting to rip his head off. But yeah, that guy looked legit. He looked really good. And it's a good matchup for the guy. The Jags team just gave up 360 passing yards to noodle arm cooked Phillip Rivers. All righty, guys, tight ends, kickers, and defense. And then I got to get going because my Celtics are playing and I have a horrible headache. And I'm sorry, but I did not sleep at all last night because it was like Christmas morning with football back. Long day of teaching here. All right. Tight ends. Kelsey Andrews, to me, clear top tier. Now, if Kittle plays against the Jets, okay, you got to use him, but he's going to be hampered. You got to have Andrews a significant step above. Let's look real quick, too, at defenses and points allowed to tight ends. Of course, again, 1 week of action, like football team gave up the most, but ultimately they had Ertz and Goddard bombing them from both sides. Like that's going to happen early on. But I do think, the Broncos, they struggled last year against tight ends. So did the Titans. Ravens gave up a decent amount to the position this week. So that's intriguing to note. Same with the Chiefs, Bears, Texans, Saints all gave up a fair amount of points to the tight end. So something to consider, but nothing to overreact to right now either. Chicago, one of the more generous matchups. I think Ingram could be in for a nice rebound. Higbee with Everett banged up. We saw what happened last year, so never count that dude out. I think Waller above Ertz. Ertz a little sick to start the guy after Dallas Goedert just played better, flat out better than him. And maybe he is just flat out better. So I do this tier. I don't have Hayden Hurst in there at the moment, but I will bump Jared Cook in there. I'd put Cook, especially with this Mike Thomas news, probably up to 6 in my tight end rankings this week. Looked good as is with Thomas there. and now a definite target bump coming his way. So he gets a little bump up. Continuing on here. Hawkinson, especially if Galladay's out against Green Bay, that looks like a good one to exploit. I'm going to cut this tier off. Come on. Oh, boy, you guys are going to see me throw a laptop through a window. You guys want to see that? No, don't worry about it. All righty. Tier is moved. This ranking tool is brutal. All righty. Let's get back to a couple questions here as I let this thing kind of simmer. 49ers signing Sanu. History with Kyle Shanahan. Had a couple decent years there. There's a reason he was out there for this long, despite the Pats giving up a fucking second rounder for him. Just awful. But I mean, there's nobody else there, right? So could be worth a stash if you miss out on Campbell, Russell Gage, Paris Campbell, that is, at wide receiver for pickups. Sanu could be worth a back-end stash. I'd probably rather have Scotty Miller, though. I didn't even rank Scotty Miller. What was I thinking? Scotty Miller's got to be a guy that I highlight. Fucking almost led the team in receiving. CeeDee Lamb has to be higher, definitely over Deontay. You saw Deontay just get 10 targets, didn't you, Mike Clay? I mean, it was operating like a clear-cut alpha in Amari Cooper with 14 targets. Was more than Gallup and CeeDee Lamb combined. So that has to worry you, I'd say. I have a pretty deep stable of backs. Do I shop Drake for a little more solid wide receiver one than AJB? I think you can. Depends on what type of offers are coming up, though. I doubt you're going to get a DeAndre Hopkins at this point. But like maybe an Adam Thielen, if your stable's that deep, then it's potential to trade Rojo for Higbee. I have a stable already. Man, I might wait one more week, Mike Clay. Let Rojo decimate that pathetic Carolina defense this week, and then sell. Yeah, exactly. You're a true wolf. You're thinking about it right. We'll wait until after this week for Rojo stock to be even higher. Now, there's of course the risk Fournette becomes a vulture and saps his value, but ultimately, I think Rojo is going to have a nice week this week, and it's worth using him. OJ finally being used after 3 years. It's only been 1 year of misuse. He was a beast for his first two, Jeremiah. But yeah, last year was one of the more painful things I've ever seen. Would be very interested to see route efficiency numbers between Ertz and Goddard's last 8 games. Great point, Scott Pan. I know Scout Pan rather. I saw a great tweet by, I think his name's Michael Liu. Awesome Twitter follow. He was tweeting about their efficiency this year, and it was crazy. It was like 3.66 yards per route run for Goddard as compared to significantly lower, like less than 1 for Ertz. So a lot of efficiency there. CD against ATL now with Jarwin out. I mean, all good points, but it's like Jarwin was out last game, and it wasn't like CD tore the world on fire. I agree. I mean, the matchup's great, and I really think Dak's going to eat. And I think CD's going to eat. I think it's more so I really like Deontay, though. I think you're underselling Deontay in this one, but could be wrong. There's totally a blow-up scenario here. I'm going to get Hawkinson above Hurst. It just looked pretty clear that Gage was that number 3 as much as we and everybody else hyped up Hurst. Just wasn't there. I do like Noah Fant, despite how stingy that is, that defense there for Pittsburgh. If they stopped Ingram, it's a risk to stop somebody else. But I mean, Fant just looked so good, how athletic he is. It really depends on how many weapons are also back. I think Jonnu should be up here in your tight end 1 style streamers too as well. So the tight end is getting a little deeper. Gronk, a awful week. I don't think you can start Gronk. I think you got to have Doyle a bit higher here. Now, Hooper is going to have that job to himself for a bit. But he did nothing. What was it? 2 catches for 15 yards. So it's like Njoku to the IR. I've always been down on him. So I'm not sitting here sprinting after Austin Hooper in my rankings. Olsen with the touchdown, but a tough Pats defense. Give me Logan Thomas in the smash spot, right? He could be a great DFS play. I'd have him, maybe not in tier 3 with Evan Ingram. That's kind of bold. But, right here, once this thing fucking works, I'll put him in this tier right at the top as like your last great streamer. Caught a touchdown this week. Your big 6'6" body, looks athletic. I feel good about him for sure. So in terms of like cutting this tier off of like last potential starters, I don't want Gronk in my lineup. So I'll set this tier here and then move people up if they deserve it. I think Jimmy Graham against the Giants caught a touchdown and could have had another, was real close on it, looked as good as we've seen him look. He disappears right as you try to use him. But we're in the range of unusable guys like Tyler Eifert. If you're desperate, I'd have him over Gronk. Herndon with no other weapons there, I guess you can do over Gronk. That tweet that I put out, Jonnu Smith over Gronk, that got a lot of controversy. Looking pretty good right now. Akins against the Baltimore matchup isn't anything good. But yeah, that's about, the last of the usable tight ends. So let's cover a couple quick ones. Mixon's ruining my life again. Stay true to the process. I don't think it's going to take nearly as long this year, Jeremiah. I think he bounces back big against Cleveland Thursday night. Fant really did look good. His hands seem reliable. Definitely. I mean, after the catch, deep down the seams, making big acrobatic grabs, 99th percentile athlete. Yeah, he looked good, Scout Pan. He looked real fucking good. I had him at the beginning of last season, then traded him, and he started going off, then drafted him this year. I'm going to hate drop Mixon. Oh, I love you, Jeremiah. You are give you a good chuckle every broadcast. Don't hate cut him yet, my dude. You just can't get him at the right times. Maybe you need to trade him now so he goes off for everybody else that owns him. He must die from your team, Jeremiah, for him to live everywhere else. I think this is a good question. Where do you rank Scotty Miller? And I didn't rank him earlier, Pippin Road, and I wanted to. So we'll go back to Scotty Miller before we do our defenses, which I actually kind of nailed last week. The Redskins on DraftKings was my play of the week, and that panned out. Yeah, Scotty Miller is definitely above a good amount here. This got into like the range of like unusable. So now I'm going to put him, this is kind of assuming Ayuk plays and is really the number one because they got nobody else right now. And I could see Ayuk just coming out and having a monster first day. But Scotty Miller, especially if Evans or Godwin with a concussion, if either of them sit, he would be right up here in this like Marvin Jones range, I would say, is where he could slide in if somebody misses some time. Good question. I like that one. Keep them coming. We got just a handful of minutes, and then I got to get to my Celtics, folks. Playoffs, baby. Eastern Conference Finals. Alrighty, Buffalo Bills. Yeah, I like that. I would even go Pittsburgh, though. That defense is a little more ferocious. Man, that Ravens D is real good, too. I think the Chiefs are a great play this week. I think the Niners, though, they got to be the top of the list against the Jets. I think they're going to be out for blood this week, and who better to find it against than a Jets team without their best player? The best player being Le'Veon Bell, not that good. That's how bad they are. Fucking crap. Literally, I've taken craps that smell better than the Jets. We got the Bears, the Giants. That's a great matchup too. I think that's got to go into this elite tier. The Bears looked. They ultimately gave up some decent points to Stafford, but Stafford in that offense is very legit. I got Tennessee Titans. They were horrible against a mediocre Denver team. So let's get rid of them. So Matt and JMO, I see some comments coming in from you guys. I'll get right there. We'll show you the running backs again. Yes. And of course this will be posted so you can always rewind, rewatch it, do the replay. If you missed any positions, but I'll make sure to give you another glance at them. In terms of other teams, why the Eagles? What's good about them? Give me the Rams. I think that D-line is going to just demolish. We saw what the Washington football team did against them. I think that's going to be a legit, just anytime you can exploit that Eagles line, you do it. So I like them. And then it gets kind of ugly. Yeah, you can't like the Colts there. Seattle against New England, you can't love. Yeah, this is an ugly slate for defenses. So I'm going to add a tier like here. After the top 8, it's getting pretty bad, and you just need a desperate stream. So who would I look at? I don't like to play any of these. I would say the Pats, even though Russell Wilson's there, maybe they pick him off a handful of times. I would say but you get the Steelers. This is a bad week for defenses, folks. Really, there's not a whole lot that I'm looking forward to. I think the Raiders might be like a sneaky play just with Mike Thomas knocked out. This is ugly, ugly stuff, though, on the defensive front. I mean, Tampa Bay against Carolina. Yeah, Scout Pan's shouting him out. Like, that could be a little bit of a bump up. But even though I love Teddy Bridge, and I like that Joe Brady offense, that could be a potential one there. I think Cincy and Baker Manziel, as we got here, and New Carolina team, super sacky. Scott, I really like that call. I think you got some defensive scouting eyes there, Scout Pan. If you want to potentially make that your thing over here at RSJ, I like that. Defensive streamers. I think Cincy's worth tossing out, but I do think the running game's really going to ignite and get going. Whereas I could see the Browns maybe stepping up a bit. But I think you got to have the Washington football team a little higher, just because that D-line can get after the passer. And we saw Kyler Murray take quite a bit of sacks. So as good as that air raid is, I wouldn't be surprised to see the Washington football team kind of keep that streak and have a nice, decent day there. That's about it for usable defenses, in my opinion. Maybe the Cardinals against Washington, right? Bad offense, and the defense looked slightly improved. So that could do it. We got Cincy getting at least one pick six. That's a decent call. One guy I really like to follow is Brett Coleman. He's super bullish on AZ defense. Good name to shout out there, Brett Coleman. I'll make sure to check him out. Yeah, I think AZ makes some noise. I don't like anything about Washington, though. Wash's trap still sub 60% adjusted completion for Haskins week 1. I think Cardinals make sense as a streamer if you're desperate out there this week. I like that one for sure, Scout. Good call. Other than that, I'm trying to look down this list, and I don't see much that intrigues me. I'll give Jeremiah the bump calling out the pick 6 because, who else down here? If you're desperate, maybe go for that pick 6. Baker does suck, so maybe they do get one. But that's my defenses there. Let's do kickers real quick. Get your last questions in. Let me get to your questions here. Anthony Acosta, Matthew Saldana. Can I see the running backs? Let's go real quick to the running backs here for you. I'm not going to analyze them again, but I can just give you a quick flash of them and then just rewind if you want all the takes on them. But you can kind of, Matthew, just glance through them real quick. If you have any questions that you see on any of them, you can see over here who I'm kind of higher or lower on than the ECR, the consensus. So those are just a few guys to check out. And I'd say if you're going any lower than this, you're in some bad shape. You can put McKinnon in the usable tier because of the receiving work he gets. And then JMO just joined, so I don't know if I missed his rankings already, but how high are you moving monsters up based off last week? I'm guessing you meant Mostert. And as you can see, running back 13, feeling great. Now, a couple people brought up this point that Tevin Coleman in the air quality, and that's why he didn't play a lot. And I see that because there was a risk that he might end up sitting the game, right? So we do want to see at least one more week before being like, Mostert is the guy. But, 60% of the snaps, 60% of the touches, 70% of the total yardage from the backfield, he definitely looked like the damn guy, and he looked great doing it. So I loved Mostert's performance. Clearly, now he gets the Jets. I think it's just going to continue to steamroll there. If Coleman comes out and gets like a near even split, then we'll know it was about the air quality. Because my kind of counter to that is if it was a concern, why did they play him at all? If it was a legitimate health concern, what would he be doing on the field? So what difference does it make if he gets 10 carries in a health concern versus 6? If he's out there, he's out there. So I don't think if it was a big concern, he would have played. So I think it was more about that. So guys, do I start David Johnson or Miles Sanders at flex? Well, let's see, Acosta, what the grumblings are about Sanders, right? We have to know that he's fully healthy before we can go in and give him a shot. But if he's there, they're taking the cautious approach. So that's why I like if Sanders plays, you kind of know he's good to go, is what I'm thinking. Yeah, Mostert, Monstert, incorrect, Mostert. There you go. You'll get it someday, J-Mo. That education over there can hopefully help you with some spelling now that you're in college. Maybe you can get them right. I'm calling one guy I really like. Oh, we already saw that one. Gostkowski getting dropped down to kicker 60. Jeremiah Moore's on fire tonight. I got to invite you onto the show sometime. Get the stand-up routine going. He should get down to kicker 60. Can I trade Michael Thomas for a bag of balls at this point? Asks Jake. How frustrating. If only you had listened to the bell cow advice here. Even if one of your guys busted, it certainly isn't going to be like Michael Thomas at this point. You're probably going to miss him for half a season. Yeah, that's brutal. That is absolutely brutal. Let's continue going here. Harrison Butker, always your top kicker, and Justin Tucker, you got your big 3, your big 4. I'd move the leg up just because they're getting that. Tyler Bass, scout pan going deep here. Peepa's leg, hard not to love him against Miami. So that must be the kicker for Buffalo then. Leg man. What did he put up in points this week, Scout? Let me know. Totally down to check him out. I mean, Buffalo matchup. I'll give him a quick little bump up. I love Zane. You got to love Zane Gonzalez in that offense. Screw your bell cow, Mixon and Sanders. You made me lose week 1. Yeah, you're still winning the ship, but yes, you had the right approach, but maybe not the right bell cows. But did you go Jonathan Taylor round 3? Because you got yourself a better than either of those guys rest of the season there. Tyler Bass, leg man for the Bills. So check that out if you need a kicker. If you're desperate to get rid of Gostkowski after that trash night. I love big dick, big leg Joey Sly. Always my boy here. Got to put him top 6. I mean, 12 points last week, booting 40-yarders like it was his job. What's not to love about Joey Sly? Guy's got a leg. That offense moved it without any type of problem. And Tampa Bay's not that great of a defense. So I like him. Prater's a great option every week. I don't know how Boswell ultimately did, but I like him. In Denver, a little bit tougher of a D kind of plays into his favor. Crosby with the Aaron Rodgers revenge tour. I don't like Myers against a tough Pats D. So let me give the Bass man a shout out to Scout Pan. I'll check him out a little bit more. Can you, Scout Pan, how many points did he put up this week against the Jets? Can you let me know what his finals ended up being? Because not opposed at all. I love the glasses of Rodrigo Blankenship. You get to start a dude named Blankenship. That's always a plus. Anytime you can get a thing named Blankenship into your lineup. 7, but he missed 2 field goals. Well, Tyler Bass, get on down. Well, why do I want this dude if he can't hit the field goals? I don't give a shit if he has a leg scout. Come on. I mean, and then this week he's going to put up like 25 points. Gostkowski, for you, Jeremiah Moore, down to the bottoms. Nick Folk, that was a hideous performance. No, I'm kidding. We'll get Bass back up. Lots of points in the Buff game. I do agree. That offense looked great, and they were fun to watch. Motion everywhere, 4 receiver sets. I think Josh Allen has, real top three upside. I mean, that's tricky with Russell Wilson also balling out. I'm really excited about what that Buff offense did. So as you're saying, the Buff could easily score 35 plus this week. I'm Diggs ran the most routes of any wideout week 1 too. That is a fun fact, indeed. Unfortunately, John Brown is just that much more efficient and better. Other than that, you always run the risk of like KC them getting up big and then the opposing team abandoning the kick. I don't see. I like Lambeau. I mean, a hyper efficient Minshew seems good to me. So I'd say like these 16. You got to have something from these 16, including again sleeper of the week Tyler Bass with that boot of a leg. Other than that, I don't think you have to dip into this crap tier at all. I'm a Jets fan. Curb your enthusiasm. Buffalo, we're not an NFL football team. You guys are fucking great. Thanks for bringing the fun because I was dead after staying up till 1:30 and first day of fucking school. Ooh, coming up tomorrow. So I need to rest. But you guys are bringing some good fun to wrap this up. But those are the kickers. Those are all the rankings. Guys, it was a blast. I'll definitely be more energetic tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern time for the Ultimate Week 7 preview. You also get the Fantasy Tailgate starting on Thursday and then on Sunday as well for your pregame sit-start questions. Come on down. Join us for all those. And then, of course, the Saturday show, we'll have our DFS lineups. I will be better, I promise. More energy, more insight than I probably brought today. The week 1 just always kills me every season. It's right when school starts. They always have the double Monday night headers, and Tuesday I'm just a corpse, as you can see. Let's go Celtics. Good luck in all your week 2 lineups. Keep hitting me up at Roto Street Wolf, rotostreetjournal.com. We breed and feed fantasy wolves. Any subscriptions and reviews to the Fantasy Fullback Dive mean the world. And of course, we're trying to get that YouTube over 1,000. So if you're looking to help out the show, hit that subscribe button for us on YouTube. Even if you don't watch on YouTube, it means the world to us. The bell for notifications if you're on YouTube and you want to know every time we go live. All righty, guys. Thanks so much. We'll see you hopefully tomorrow.